Okay, it is 8:45, November 11th, 2021. We are back from executive session with no action taken. And we will proceed on to, I believe it's item 6.6. Discussion on amending the fee schedule enacted by ordinance 2020-12-08 to include fees for fire services. Mr. Apley.
Thank you, Mayor. 1 minute. All right, Mayor. As part of this agenda item, I will ask Chief Ludwig to come and speak and kind of discuss the potential rates we're looking to introduce as far as fire and inspection fees. I think last meeting, he had an agenda item which showed a number of cities that charge for the same type of service. And so I think at this point, he wanted to kind of give you an overview of these rates and fees. And then I think the idea is we will come back next month with an ordinance amending our fee schedule and incorporating those fees. And we will also bring back the agenda item in regards to the certification for our firefighters as well. Go ahead, Chief.
Mayor, Council, as the city manager mentioned last council meeting, we discussed and showed what other cities were charging as far as certain fees going towards fire inspections, plan reviews, some of the inspections that we do that we currently don't have on our current fee schedule. So one of the things that y'all requested at the last month's meeting was to go back and look, and if we implemented these fees, what type of additional revenues we were looking at. So I went back through all the permits from 2019, 2020, and up to October of this year. And on the agenda summary, you can see what the actual fees that were collected for those permits. And if we had this new fee schedule in place, what the amounts would have been that we would have collected. Pretty much the fee schedule, the permit fee schedule that was also part of your packet, is in comparison to what the other cities are charging for these exact same permits and also these services also. I think implementing these fees with the tighter budgets that are coming, these are some revenues that we can collect that have gone uncollected at the time. Also, it would help give us a little bit more quality as far as what work is being done, monitoring whatever these businesses are that they're coming in and what type of businesses they're doing. And so I think just in overall basis, it would help improve the permit department.
Thank you, Chief.
If there's any questions.
No,
Mayor, this agenda item is just for discussion and no action, but just want to let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much for getting this done. I've
Sure.
kind of believed for a long time that we need to make sure, I'm not expecting fire to make money, but at least cover the expense.
Right. And currently we are talking with the permit department and looking at some of the fees that are being charged. We're lucky to break even on a lot of these inspections, especially our C of O inspections.
Yeah, and I think the idea, if we can at least cover our costs, maybe a little bit more, is smart from at least a business perspective.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory.
Are these fees going to only go to businesses, or we're going to start feeing citizens for things?
No, these are only strictly for commercial fire related permits. The fire department does not have any authority over residential. All of our inspections as far as C of Os, sprinkler systems, fire alarm systems and so forth, all of that is just strictly commercial.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
6.7, discussion and possible action on resolution 2021-11-09, authorizing participation in the global opioid settlement and adopting the Texas term sheet and its interstate allocation schedule regarding the global opioid settlement, authorizing the city manager to execute and provide necessary documents in connection with the above on behalf of the city of Castle Hills, Texas, and providing an effective date. Mr. Rapley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to bring forward the discussion point on our summary, and just some of the background. On July 23rd, 2021, Attorney General Paxton announced global settlements had been reached with 3 major opioid distributors, McKesson, Cardinal Health, and American Source Bergen, and opioid manufacturer Johnson & Johnson. Both settlements are combined historic $26 billion. Texas could receive as much as $1.5 billion. The actual amount Texas will receive is depending on the participation of the cities and counties and other political subdivisions within the state. And I think that if we were, and I'll have Mr. Schnall confirm this, if we were to adopt the term sheet, our settlement to the city is around $12,000 as a result of the settlement. Mr. Schnall?
To be precise, $12,780. It's on page 6 of Exhibit B to the term sheet that was circulated in the packet. As Mr. Rapley said, this is a state attorney general's office in conjunction with attorney generals in many other states around the country, part of a nationwide settlement. The resolution is adapted from the form resolution that the attorney general circulated for execution on behalf of counties. And I have made a few changes and made it obviously applicable to the city. There is a deadline of January 2, 2022 for cities to enter into the term sheet and participate in this settlement. So if the council is not inclined to do this tonight and wants a little more time to review the 62-page attachment in the packet, this could be placed on the agenda in December. If the council is comfortable with going forward with this tonight, then the resolution 2021-11-09 is also in the packet. As I say, it is part of the nationwide settlement, and the documentation is consistent with what the Attorney General is recommending to Texas counties and cities. The fact that the city of Castle Hills is listed on page 6 of Exhibit B to the term sheet means that someone sometime had indicated that the city was interested in participating, but neither Mr. Rapley nor I know how that could have happened. But we are listed. There's a specific dollar amount, and it may be that the Attorney General in the term sheet did list every county and every city. And if cities do not participate or counties do not participate, our number could conceivably go up. I don't think it will go down.
Thank you, Mr. Schnall. Mr. May.
Mr. Stahl, realistically, if we were not to participate, the only way that we could ever seek compensation is to reinvent the wheel and pursue our own litigation with very little likelihood of a payout. Is that not true?
It would, I can't imagine any legal counsel being willing to accept representation of a city our size in a settlement of this kind, with the Attorney General already having negotiated on behalf of the state of Texas. I will add that my understanding from at least one other city is that the many municipalities are using, intend to use these dollars to supplement and cover costs of the police department in dealing with the problems that are associated with not only opioid use, but any kind of illegal drug use or activity.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions, council? Mr. Joyce.
Just a quick question following up. That was my question. Do we know who could benefit from this $12,000? Do we have some sense of people who have been impacted by the opioid situation? I mean, certainly it's helpful to give some money to the police to help fight it and other drug problems, but are there folks in our community that have suffered from this?
As I said, the city I'm familiar with, the police chief told me that his intention was to use the dollars to help police enforce the laws about drug enforcement and to provide education and training to police officers in that regard. I would have to dig deeper to find out whether there were any other restrictions on the use of these dollars. And Mr. Rapley and I could certainly check with other cities besides the one the police chief I talked to, about what their intentions are. Another city I'm representing is going to consider the same kind of resolution at its meeting tomorrow night. And I can ask the police chief there what his plan would be to use the dollars that are in this document for that city. As I say, it's not required that it be done tonight, but if it's not done tonight, it will need to be done at your regular meeting in December for us to meet the deadline of January 2nd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion? Mr. May?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city council approve resolution number 2021-11-09, authorizing participation in the global opioid settlement and authorizing our city manager to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you, Mr. May. Second by Mr. Paul. Any more discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Item 6.8, discussion and possible action on authorizing the city to engage RPS engineering to perform inspection and testing services for the 2021 street improvement project and authorizing the city manager to sign such an agreement. Mr. Rapley.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for a proposal for the construction observation testing of the street improvement projects that have started. As you recall, I used one of our engineers for not only the engineering, but the other one for the construction observation. Right now, Ardura L&B did the engineering. So in this case, I'm using RPS to do the construction observation for this project. Just as the project over on Banyan, where RPS did the engineering, we use Ardura to do the construction observation. So this is the proposal. This is the amount in there is up to, and they may not be utilizing that many hours per week. It's just when they start putting down, I think the base and the reconstruction of the road is when they'll get heavily into the observation and inspecting and making sure the work is done appropriately as designed by the engineers.
Thank you, Mr. Rapley. Mr. Isbrand.
Mayor and council, I'd move that we authorize the city to engage RPS engineering to perform inspection and testing services for the 2021 street improvement plan and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
Second.
Second by Mr. May, maybe. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Next up, we have 6.9, discussion of possible action on ratifying the action on the city manager's contract. Mr. Rapley.
Mayor, my understanding that the agenda item that was passed, I guess in regards to my salary, would need to be ratified. I think there was a discussion with Mr. Fletcher when he was here that it might have been done under the other agenda item at the last meeting, correct, Mr. Schnall? Yes. And so I think it's just restating the motion and the effective date that was said at the last meeting, which includes the new compensation for me and the effective date. Correct, Mr. Schnall?
Yes, sir.
So and essentially, it's just a.
Mr. Isbrand.
Mayor and council, I'd move that we ratify the city manager's contract with an effective date of November 1st.
So Mr. May got that one again. Mr. Schnall, was that appropriate, or do we have to make any adjustments?
If it's ratifying the action taken at the prior meeting, that encompasses all the action taken at the prior meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the salary was stated at the prior meeting and they're ratifying what happened at the prior meeting, then Mr. Isbrand's motion is sufficient.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, council. Item 6.10, discussion of possible action on ratifying the authorization of the city to enter a contract with Ardura Group LLC to design full depth reconstruction on various streets in Castle Hills and authorizing the city manager to sign such an engagement. Mr. Rapley.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this is a ratification of the action by council at the last meeting. If you recall, it was a 2-0-2 because the two council members, Mr. Paul and Mr. Douglas, abstained. Mr. Joyce was not here, so I think it's just a matter of taking the vote again to ratify it. Of course, Mr. Schnall, correct?
Mr. Joyce, Mr. Isbrand, anybody? Mr. Joyce,
I'll move that we ratify the authorization of the city to enter a contract with Ardura to assist full depth reconstruction on various streets in Castle Hills, authorizing the city manager to sign such engagement.
Second.
second,
Okay,
Mr.
the
Isbrand.
same council members who abstained and did not participate last time should also abstain and not participate tonight. The same streets are involved, so the motion and second are fine, but the council members who did file the affidavits of non-participation also need to not participate tonight.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? I'll let the record reflect that Mr. Gregory and Mr. Paul abstained. Okay, item 7, announcements of mayor and city council members and items of community interest. Mr. Isbrand.
Mayor and council, the Castle Hills Women's Club will be collecting unwrapped new toys this Saturday from 9 to 11 in the Commons for the Elf Louise Project. I'd encourage everyone in Castle Hills to contribute to this wonderful cause and appreciate the great work of the Women's Club in doing this.
Thank you, Mr. Isbrand. Mr. Paul? Mr. May?
I'll pass today.
Mr. Joyce?
I would just like to invite everyone to our next workshop for the comprehensive plan, which will be held on December 6th, which is a Monday evening at 5:30. The architects have begun to interpret and depict the ideas that citizens have presented for moving forward with our city and also their priorities. So everybody's invited December 6th at 5:30. We hope you all can make it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gregory?
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble.
Thank you, sir. Just want to make a small comment for those of you that are joining us virtually. We have a little bit of construction going on outside City Hall on the street. And while it's an inconvenience, I'm excited to see that this council is taking the actions and steps necessary to invest in Castle Hills. And please pardon our dust till then. That being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. May,
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
second by Mr. Joyce. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. It is 9:02. Everybody have a good evening.